In this tutorial we go over the creation of a 3D picture-in-picture with the templates and the format. To start off, we'll have to create a new template and rename it to 3D VIP in. And I will have to add a new object to the stage, in this case a 3D box. And I have multiple 3D boxes available, they just have different specifications, but they are basically the same box. In this case we're going to use a chamfer box, which has a nice rounded edge along the sides. And as soon as I've added this, I want to make sure that I'm on 3D mode. If I'm on 2D, I cannot move my 3D box in a 3D space. So I want to make sure I'm in 3D. And when I'm in 3D, I can rotate and move my box around. Now, my box has a few settings. One of the first, of course, is the width, height and depth. I can also change the fillet, change how much side of the sides I want to see and how much segments the sides are using. I can also change my materials. I have a few materials available for every side of the box and a chamfer. The only active materials are the front and the chamfer material. I can also enable my side materials with this button over here. But in this case, I'll just use the front and the chamfer. So the chamfer is currently using a gooch, which is a shading effect. And I can, for instance, change the light and the warm color. I do not have to set the dark and cool colors, basically because they are used for the shading. Now when I'm happy with this color, I can of course alter my box. I can change the height, change the depth and change the width. And for the next step I can, for instance, alter my front side material, since we want to play out a clip. In this case it is using a standard texture, which allows me to map a player to this box. Currently it's using a still player. We'll have to change that with a clip player in order to play out a clip. And of course we have to set a scene parameter for the file. In order to play out a video file coming from the database or from the schedule. Of course, one of the other things is that I'm going to use this clip on top of my main video. So I want to make sure that I'm not using both audio sources at the same time. So I can create an audio fade for this box, for instance, and eventually for my clip as well. So of course in this case I want to start my fade at 0. And let's say in 1 second I want to have it at 100%. And this is a linear fade. If you're going to use this fade, it's not going to be linear, so it can give some unwanted behavior. So it's always better when doing a fade to use this slider on top. Okay, so in this case I have a player attached for my box. I can go back to the overview page and I can set some more things for my box. For instance, the sides of my box are not really smooth. So what I can do is go over to quality and in quality turn on anti-aliasing, which will give a smooth result for the edges. One of the other things I can add as well is effects. In the effects section I can add a bevel effect, for instance, which is used to get a sort of 3D shading effect for text. A blur effect, a colorize effect, which is very useful to highlight certain parts of text in a specific color. I have a drop shadow effect available, a pixelate effect and a ripple effect. In this case we're going to use the drop shadow effect. And for every effect there are modifications possible. So when I go into the effect with the arrow button, I can change a bunch of settings for this shadow. For instance, the color, the angle, the scaling and the distance, and of course how much downsampling there is. If I set it to none, you get a direct shadow of your box. So if I'm happy with this setting, the next thing I can do is bring in my video as well, my main clip. Since my main clip has to fade out and this video has to fade in, I have to reuse my main clip in this case. I'm not gonna play a certain video because it's already playing in our play clip, so I want to make sure that it's set to no action. But I do want to alter the fading of my main clip. So in this case I want it to start at 100% and eventually fade to maybe 0 or 25. And of course now I can animate my box as well. It is a lot easier to use the normal keyframe in order to make sure that everything we have altered on the box will be stored. So in this case I can add a new keyframe over here and move over to 0 seconds and maybe scale it a bit. Of course I have to create my out template as well. This is again very easy by clicking the duplicate template button, renaming my template, selecting all timeline items, all the keyframes, and going over to tools and pressing reverse keyframes. And I have the reverse animation. And of course I want to add an endpoint as well. And I don't want to do that for my clip, since my clip has to keep on playing, since it's my main video. And I have to change one thing as well, and that is on the chamfer box in the clip player. The action is still set to play, which means that if I run this template, whatever file is stored in this file section will start playing again, and it will restart from the beginning. So in this case I want to make sure that my action is on no action, so my clip will just keep on playing and I'm just altering the animation of my box and I'm not restarting the video, for instance. And that's it for our 3D picture-in-picture in and 3D picture-in-picture out. So the only thing left is to create a format. And in this format we can bring in the 3D picture-in-picture in and 3D picture-in-picture out. Of course we have to set the scene parameters. In this case we don't have to set a scene parameter for the clip, since that's already being done on the play clip template and play clip format. So we'll just have to set it for the picture-in-picture clip and only on the in, of course, since the out is set on no action and is just taking over the state from the PRP in. So for instance I could use a fixed asset reference or an import field, and if I have a certain import field available in my schedule I can, for instance if it's called promo, I can set this to promo. I have this as a timing mode as well. Usually of course you want to have a picture-in-picture playing at the end of your video. So I could make my timing mode from end, well, let's say 30 seconds, which is kind of okay. And let's say I want to play it for around 20 seconds, so let's set this to -10. So we'll play in a total duration of 20 seconds. And that's about it for my picture-in-picture.